We are a person that is made of multiple parts, internal parts, a collective of parts that had to develop and engage in survival throughout all the lived experiences that we've had. Some parts hold pain. Many parts try to protect us from touching that pain. And then we have parts that distract and soothe. But we all have it, and we're all walking with it. For me, anxiety was a fierce protective part. There's nothing bad about that. Anxiety isn't the enemy. Anxiety was a part of me that felt burdened with the responsibility to keep me safe at times where I didn't feel safe. And even when I was in safety, it wasn't going to take its foot off the pedal, because then it wasn't my ride or die.
Our next speaker is Stacey Uhrig, a certified trauma care practitioner, rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and the host of Flip Your Mindset podcast. Stacey specializes in helping people understand how trauma and core beliefs shape their emotional lives. Today, she's here to guide us through befriending our anxiety, where she'll show us how to shift from feeling overwhelmed to empowered. Welcome, Stacey Uhrig.
Here's a question I have for you. What's in your backpack? Every single person in the world has their own lived experiences. They put them in the backpack. They also have their own interpretation of that experience. That goes in the backpack. That interpretation influences how they see themselves, the world, and other people around them. Every single person in this room has an invisible backpack, and in it are your lived experiences, your interpretations, and all the adaptations and all the coping strategies that you developed. Now, I'm not going to ask anybody here to tell me what's inside their backpack. It's not show and tell. But it is really important to accept and acknowledge that all day, every single day, when you are interacting with somebody, you're interacting with how accessible they are to their backpack, and they're doing it subconsciously. They don't even know they're pulling from it. When you're connecting with other people and you're finding discord in your life, you get to ask yourself, what's inside their backpack? What are their lived experiences? What are their adaptations? We interact with people every single day without really acknowledging the weight that they carry. Anxiety was a part of my backpack. And what I realized in that moment is anxiety is not the enemy to be hated or kicked to the curb, as I wanted to do so often. It was simply an adaptation and to protect a part of me that wanted to be heard. As a trauma care practitioner and a one-to-one coach, I utilize something known as parts work and something known as polyvagal theory. They're both influenced by something known as internal family systems, and it's a pretty simple framework. It goes like this. We're not one person. We are a person that is made of multiple parts, internal parts, a collective of parts that had to develop and engage in survival throughout all the lived experiences that we've had. Some parts hold pain. Many parts try to protect us from touching that pain, and then we have parts that distract and soothe. But we all have it, and we're all walking with it. For me, anxiety was a fierce protective part. There's nothing bad about that. Anxiety isn't the enemy. Anxiety was a part of me that felt burdened with the responsibility to keep me safe at times where I didn't feel safe. And even when I was in safety, it wasn't going to take its foot off the pedal, because then it wasn't my ride or die. Let me show you what I mean. Raise of hands. How many people in this room have ever experienced anxiety? How did you know you had it? I want you to think about that. When my clients come into my office and they sit on my couch and they say, I'm having anxiety, I say, how do you know? And they look at me like I'm crazy, like I'm paying you to tell me this? And I say, no, ask yourself this. How do you know that you have anxiety? And they all say the same thing. My throat feels tight. I can't breathe. I'm sweating. I'm breaking out in hives. My blood pressure's crazy. My stomach's a mess. I can't digest anything. I'm either having diarrhea, or I can't eat, or I'm vomiting. They're describing something that happens from here to here. And without getting too deep into the science of it, I'll share this with you. We have a little tiny part of our brain known as the amygdala. Think of it as a light switch, but it's also like your alarm center. And every single person has it. It's a very primitive part of your brain. Its job is to keep you alive. Anytime it senses a threat, whether it's real or perceived, its job is to go on. And just like turning on a light switch, there's a bundle of nerves that get activated, and that series of nerves is known as the vagus nerve bundle. It goes from the bottom of your skull, and it wanders through every single one of your organs, and it's part of what's known as the autonomic nervous system. You don't ever think about digesting or breathing or you're having your heart beat. It automatically runs, and part of the reason why is because of this nerve bundle. When the amygdala goes on, your vagus nerve must react because its job is to also keep you alive. If you have a scenario in your life that caused you to have to feel as though your amygdala needed to be turned on all the time, your vagus nerve is going to do what its job is to do. It's pretty simple. I didn't understand that when I was told that I had anxiety at 25 years old and that was just going to be my lot in life, and everybody else in my family had anxiety, so here's the Zoloft and off you go. It's a very disempowering message. When I understood this, things changed. Now, the amygdala is going to go off when you feel pressure, when you feel threats, when you feel physical danger, psychological danger, or you don't have your basic need met. Not having your basic needs met can often leave us feeling not enough. And the brain cannot decipher between I'm about to be hit and I don't feel good enough about myself. A threat is a threat is a threat. So what I realized is that anxiety is actually a normal response to an abnormal set of circumstances. Abnormal could be you could be in physical danger, and abnormal could be I don't believe I'm enough, when we're actually all enough. And the brain and the body cannot decipher between the two. So, before I knew any of this, I wanted to be very quick to get rid of my anxiety. Why wouldn't I? It sucked. It feels horrible. Anybody here feel great when they have anxiety? No. Everybody here wants to get rid of their anxiety. They want to kick it to the curb. It feels horrific. So I hated it. But when I understood that anxiety was simply an alarm, I could change my relationship with it, because wouldn't I want an alarm? So when I stopped trying to outrun the symphony of sensations in my body and I got curious, I found myself able to breathe. And I learned in that space that a part of me really needed to feel seen, heard, and understood. When the part of you that's activated can feel seen, heard, and understood, it quiets down. It calms down. It doesn't feel so burdened with the responsibility of keeping you safe or just trying to get your attention. When you do that, you can build a relationship, in my case, with anxiety versus reject it. So from my own personal experience, it's not just a story I like to tell, and from all of my trainings and working with my clients, I've been able to develop a framework. And it helps you build a relationship with your parts, one built on compassion versus control. And I call it the HEAL framework. And the first part of the HEAL framework is H. And it stands for hey. Hey, I recognize that there is a sensation in my body that I don't like. I don't name it. I don't label it. I don't try to numb it. I don't try to soothe it. I just recognize that it's present. The second part of the HEAL framework is E, engage. Ask it a question. Why are you here? What is it that you're trying to tell me? What is it that you think is happening that I need some protection right now? The third part of this framework is A, acknowledge that that part is actually present on your benefit. There are no bad parts, not in one. When we can acknowledge and accept that this part is activated and it thinks it's doing a job for you, everything starts to change. And the last part of the HEAL framework is L, listen. Listen to what it's saying. When we can listen, it feels seen, heard, understood, and it will start to quiet down. And that's where a relationship can really begin. Anxiety is not your enemy. It's a part of you. It's a loyal, fierce protector part, and it's doing the best that it can to get your attention. When you stop trying to get rid of it and you begin to understand it, you can develop a healthier relationship with it. So, the next time you feel anxiety come in, I would ask you to pause and breathe. Maybe even put your hand on your heart and ask, what is it that you're trying to tell me? Because when we stop trying to silence it and start befriending it, we don't just quiet the noise, we can begin to live from within. Thank you.